I told you it wouldn't work. I looked like an idiot. What do you mean we can't re-record it? Alright, well, why hello there. My name is Dylan from Luxury Lives On, and believe it or not, I'm not an idiot. No, believe it or not, this BMW i8 is about to run off of its lease. Now, we've driven 40,000 miles in 3 years, so therefore we've enjoyed the hell out of it, but it hasn't been without its issues. Now, today my goal is to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I didn't pull any of this crap off the internet or the forums. This is a genuine, well, anecdotal experience of the BMW i8. Alright guys, so one thing I want to preface first before we start is that this is in no way to talk crap on the i8, but it's not a love fest either. It's very much like going to your psychologist and telling him all the things that are bad in your life, and some that are good, but don't tell them too bad because they'll end up giving you crazy pills. Right, that didn't really make much sense.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that I did a video a little while ago exposing the engine of the BMW i8, and I was lucky enough for it to go viral. It hit 2.5 million views. But the concern I had was that there was a lot of hate about the BMW i8, and I can only imagine that 2.5 million people haven't exactly driven it or driven in it. And I suggest you do that before you develop an opinion about the car, because all I've been hearing is that, oh, the engine noises are fake and blah, 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 blah. Yes, they kind of are, but the car is hectically fast, it looks insane, it handles really well, and it has some really awesome attributes about it, but it's not without its own issues. The first thing I'd like to start with is just how insane it looks. It literally looks like a spaceship. In fact, a better way to describe why this is so cool is because it almost looks like a prototype that somehow exists on the road, and there's always an achievement in that because regulations always end up screwing things up somehow or another. So in many ways, the design of this car is an achievement. Not only that, the doors make things, well, really cool, and that's what people go mad for. Which leads me to my next segue here. The doors. They look really cool. They're called dihedral doors, which is just a fancy way for saying they go up. And it actually makes ingress and egress, basically going in and out of the car, incredibly difficult. In fact, I wouldn't be wearing a short skirt either. One issue before we go inside the car is, well, sometimes you can't get in it, because the doors actually for us in the past have malfunctioned and not been able to open up. I have no idea what it's been, but honestly, it's trapped us inside the car and outside the car, and that's been pretty shitty. This has led to, well, some damage, and it's partly our fault, obviously, the fact that you use the car, but at the same time, it hasn't really had great durability. As you can see, there's some serious wearing here. The seat has been cut up here, and you know, we're very respectful with what we wear. No one's wearing any True Religion jeans here with the giant buttons. And in my opinion, it's kind of unacceptable the way this is broken apart. Obviously, it's also going to be a really tricky color when you have gray. It's going to definitely stain. But this isn't even a staining issue for me. The seat is just deteriorating, and I think it has to do with the quality of the leather. Now, room is a very scarce thing in a supercar, as many of you know. Let alone finding room for normal adults in the front. This car actually has room in the back, and no, I'm not about to lead into the fact that you could fit a small child back here. They would have to be missing their limbs. But honestly, it is a really cool security blanket to be able to have these seats because it makes normal things really possible, whether it be grocery shopping or if you just need to fit an extra suitcase on something. It's a great safety net. But in addition to all of this, yes, it does have a trunk. We'll be able to argue whether it can be considered one, but really I usually think of the rear seats as the trunk and this just extra storage area. Now, you do have a decent amount of room for stuff here. Obviously, this whole area, there is, well, an engine back there, but this is pretty decent. One issue, however, it does get incredibly hot in here, and it slightly melts things sometimes. We've had diving fins in here that have melted from the heat, and it's partly because it has a greenhouse effect. You have the engine here so close in proximity to this. The area gets so goddamn hot that you really wouldn't, well, you could put your worst enemy in here if you could fit them. However, it is really comfortable and everything is where you need it to be. It's a very similar format to any BMW and therefore it's not intimidating to just get into and drive. There's also a ton of room and it's great for long trips. Now, before we get in the car, one big issue about this i8 is, well, the turning radius is total crap. It's got like the steering rack of a race car, I feel like. Allow me to demonstrate. So I wanted to take a drive in it with you guys because this is really going to be one of the last times I'm going to drive it on camera for the channel. And that's a sad thing to say because it's been such an amazing car to drive. Now, my intention is not to give you guys a normal, boring, stupid consumer review of this car. As I said, I want to talk about things that we've experienced. And there's some good things and bad things in the interior and driving it. One of them being is the car actually fast? Now, many complaints have been that it's been underpowered, and when you look at the figures on paper, it does seem underpowered. And it is an expensive car, with all due respect, $150,000 for a BMW, and it doesn't have an M badge on it. Instead, it's got an I, but this is why. This thing is outrageously fast. Oh God, this old lady's about to yell at me. Damn teenagers! And for good reason. This thing looks like a goddamn spaceship. If you see this thing coming at you at speed, I mean, what else could be that cool? Really? Now, other than the speed of the car, which is pretty immense, the way I would describe it is very much like a 911. You see, 911s haven't always had outrageous power figures, specifically in the normal 911 variants, non-GT cars. And it's because they really utilized their power very well. And that's one thing. Porsche's always been underrated, and so is this BMW. The handling is outrageous because you have two of the wheels being operated by the combustion engine and two of them by the electric motor. And that means four-wheel drive when you're in sport mode. Now you can go in a separate electric mode and get, well, just the two wheels running. But the even best part about this, speaking of two separate engine motors, is the fact that it's a hybrid. And what that means is I can floor it and still get 30 miles to the gallon. And who doesn't want that? Now onto the noise, which you probably slightly heard it. It's louder with the windows closed, which is kind of messed up, especially when you're showing someone the car and they want to ride in it. Usually you naturally put the windows down. I want to hear the engine. Obviously, that's the big complaint in this car. It's a supercar without a screaming V8 or whatever it is. And that can be a huge conflict for some people. But really the way I would describe it is it just sounds weird and unique and robotic. In fact, the sound of this car exhibits the very looks of it. It's a spaceship, and that's why it sounds like one. Bloody Volvo, come on, get out of my way. There's clearly an angry soccer mom in front of me. Anyway, so that's one of the things, but at the same time, what's unacceptable, and I have to agree with all of you, is there is fake engine noise that's inputted into the car. And that's just really disappointing, to be honest with you. Because when you're hearing a car, you want to know you're actually hearing it. And this car already is kind of exhibiting the new school of cars where you have less feeling or whatever it is. But I also have to make an argument for the fact that, you know, everyone complains nowadays about cars not being analog. I think different cars are for different things. This exhibits some really cool attributes that you would never find in a proper 911R or whatever it is. Does that mean that it's still very exciting? Well, one thing I've found is that this car is very fun, but the fact that it isn't a manual, the fact that it doesn't have hydraulic steering, and I know this all sounds really cliche, but you do lose excitement. For some reason, you forget how special this car is a lot of the time driving it. It becomes too easy and mundane to drive. And I know that sounds really spoiled, and it really is spoiled to say something like that. But this car really is designed in a manner in which anyone can drive it. It feels like kind of getting into a 3 Series in the sense that all the buttons are where, you know, a 3 Series would have buttons. It's all intuitive. Obviously the whole thing's carbon fiber, and which is really unique for a car like this, because you know you are in the $150,000 range, which is a lot of money, but when you think about getting technology that this car has in it at this price, it's pretty unique, especially when it came out. I mean, we were looking at 918s, P1s, LaFerraris, and it was really unique to have something with a carbon fiber monocoque and hybrid technology. And you know what, to be completely honest with you, the hybrid technology has been pretty freaking solid, and that's pretty amazing considering it was one of the first hybrid technologies to really come into a mainstream BMW. Yes, they have them now in X5s and Lexuses, and hybrids aren't so special anymore. But when this thing came out, not only did it have to be a hybrid, it had to be a hybrid that performed, and that's a hell of a lot of pressure. The last thing I would probably complain about is when you're not hearing the fake engine, you do not have AM radio, which is kind of funny. No idea. I know no one really listens to AM anyway, but that's kind of a funny, quirky thing about this car. Other than that, we've really enjoyed this thing, and I'm gonna miss the hell out of it. Oh my god. I should not be doing this on public roads. Alright guys, so that was a quick review of the good, the bad, and the ugly from our ownership of the BMW i8. Now we're looking for a new car because it's obviously ending on the lease. Should we stay in the BMW family or perhaps get something else? Now, the criteria is exotic but practical. We don't want it blowing up on us. And hopefully a warranty. We're kind of weighing out the decision between a 911, maybe a California, secondhand Huracan, a lot of variety, but something that's going to be fun and interesting and reliable at the same time. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Put your comments below of what you recommend. And do like the video if you liked it. If you want to see more of my content, please do subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.